Well, hello my darlings, and welcome back to our channel. I am so glad you are here. Today I am going to show you how to create the foundation upon which a beautiful cascading waterfall of roses are seated. Stay tuned. For this project, you will need about 3 or 4 of these dry styrofoam bricks. You will need 2 of these push lights. I've already wrapped mine in diamond wrap. You will need some flowers, any color, any style of your choosing. You will need 10 of these candle holders. You will need garlands of acrylic gems, any design of your choosing. And you will need 3 of these plastic trays. Of course, you will need your handy dandy tools. Let's get crafting. So the first thing we're going to do to prepare our craft is place our first set of candlesticks in our first tray. And to do this, we are going to make sure that our straight edges are aligned. A straight edge aligned to the back of that tray, as well as a straight edge aligned to the side of that tray. Once we have found our placement, we are going to adhere these 2 candle holders to the tray. Now, if you are going to be creating this for an event, I highly, strongly recommend, suggest that you do so using a permanent glue, whether it is E6000 or Fix All or any other permanent glue that you use. However, since I am making this for video and will more than likely break it down so that I can reuse some of these items, I am going to use hot glue only. So as you can see, I went in and I placed my hot glue, and now I am finding my placement of those 2 candlesticks. And once I have found my placement, it is simply going to be a matter of applying some pressure and allowing those to dry. If you use E6000, maybe 2 to 3 hours before continuing, but for me, I'll be able to continue in a few minutes. Now, what I did with my loaves of foam is I cut them in half and into little pieces to try to make up the irregular shape of this tray, including the areas where those candlesticks are sitting. And so as you can see here, I used 1/2 to go into the first part of that tray, and then I cut the half in half, and as you can see, that half is sitting in the back. Of course, with any little other pieces that there are, I'm going to use them to just fill in some empty places so that when I'm ready to make my floral arrangement, there will be foam enough in which to anchor my flowers. So here we have our 2 candle holders that have been dried to our first tray, and it is now time to build up our second tray and make the foundation upon which that second tray can sit. Now what we're going to do here now is place 2 more candlesticks to support the back of that tray, and all we need here is a single set. Now if you can see, I am taking my time and I'm trying to find my placement sans, or rather without any glue, and I'm finagling it a little bit to make sure that none of those candlesticks are poking out the sides or at the back, and making sure that my candlesticks are aligned straight edge to straight edge with the straight edges that are already there from our first set. And then once I have found my placement and I am sure that my tray is going to sit flush or parallel rather with the other tray, it is simply a matter of me adhering those candlesticks to my tray. Again, please remember that if you are building this for an event, Please be sure to use permanent glue. I am only using hot glue for the sake of the video. So once I have placed now my foundation of glue onto my candlesticks, it is simply a matter of me finding the placement that I need, making sure that both trays are aligned, and once I have found my placement, applying some pressure and allowing the trays to dry for a few moments. So here we have the first 2 layers of our tray, and as you can see, for my second tray I went in again with 2 more single candle holders at the back of that second tray. Now to place our third tray, what I'm going to do is use these 2 or pair of 2 candlesticks that I glued together off screen using Gorilla Glue Epoxy, and I am going to use these as the base upon which that third shelf will sit. And so what I'm doing is trying to guesstimate my placement for these candlesticks, making sure that I'm aligning it to the candlesticks that have already been placed there, that none of those candlesticks are jutting out either to the back or at the side, and that my edges on the bottom are aligned straight edge to straight edge. So once I have finagled these candlesticks into place and I'm satisfied with where they each are going to sit, then it is simply a matter of taking my glue and adhering these pieces together. Now I'm going to work very quickly with my hot glue so as not to have this glue dry on me, since I'm gluing down 4 pieces. But again, the disclaimer is, my darlings, that make sure when you are making this that you use a permanent glue instead of that hot glue. So now that I have placed my foundation of glue, I am simply going to find my placement, make sure that my tray is parallel to the other 2 and align with them perfectly. And once I have found my placement, I'm going to apply some pressure and allow it to dry for a few moments. Now the last thing I'm going to do, so that we can cover up the back a little bit so we're not just looking at the legs of those candlesticks, is I'm going to use my soldering iron and I am going to make some holes on the back lip of that back tray and along the side, and I'm going to string my crystal garlands in that place. Of course, I will be doing this off camera. So here we have a side view of all the work we have just done, and here you have our crystals that we have hung on the back and on the side just to obscure those candlesticks just a little. And now what we're going to do is place our push light underneath. Now, because I have opted to use large roses, my light is going to be obscured just a little, but the purpose of me including the light in this project is because I would like there to be just a little bit of illumination on those crystals as they hang at the back of that piece. So all I did was I took my hot glue, I placed it on the adhesive backing of that push light, and I have stuck it underneath the middle of that top tray. I used 2, one for the second tray and one for the third tray. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and make my floral arrangement, and what I'm going to do here is make sure that as I am placing these flowers, I'm placing them not only on a diagonal but more to the edge of this tray to ensure that the green styrofoam is not going to be showing underneath. So you are going to use your flowers to camouflage that green styrofoam there by making sure they are hanging over the side of the tray. And as you can see, this is what I spoke about, my large roses. Of course, if you opted to use smaller roses or smaller flowers, whatever choice of flowers you desire to do so, the choice, my darlings, is absolutely up to you. But as you can see, I'm going in with my larger roses. I will continue to finish the top layer, the second and the first. Then I will clean this up of any glue fronds they are. I will set the table, and then I will be back to show you what our finished project looks like. Well, here you have it, my darlings, our Cascading Rose Waterfall Centerpiece. Isn't it remarkable? Now, I would have to say that my favorite part of this project is the tiered look that you get on the side. My second favorite part of this project would also have to be the glass and, of course, the crystals. Now, this is what I was talking about when I spoke about using those large roses from the front, and I will give you a different view. You won't necessarily be able to see that there are 3 levels to this centerpiece because those roses take up so much space. However, if you decided to complete this project and maybe you used smaller roses instead of the larger roses I used, you may be able to see your levels much better. And so, my darlings, I think I would have to say that we have nailed yet another project, and not for much pennies out of the pocket and not for much time either. This will make a beautiful centerpiece for any event or any room decor. Now tell me, if you have found any value in this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as leave me a comment in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. To my Danny's darlings, I just would like to take this time to tell you thank you for all the love, the encouragement, the comments, the questions, the feedback. Please know that you are appreciated. However, if you are not yet a Danny's darling and you just happen to stumble by our channel today, we would all like to invite you to kindly consider joining our ever-growing community of DIYers as we learn from and craft with each other on a weekly basis. If you do decide to join our family today, also be sure to click that notification bell to make sure that you will be among one of the first to know whenever any of our videos are published. Well, before I sign off, I will leave you with this, my darlings, which is the motto to our channel. Why buy when you can DIY? And so, my darlings, my loves, until next time, I say to you, please, please, please take care of yourselves for me. Know that I love you all. Bye now.